Roger Federer, a name that defined elegance, perfection, and grace. He was not merely a champion who conquered the world of tennis, but a phenomenon, an event, and a living piece of artistry in motion. Yet his final chapter wasn't a coveted title or record-breaking trophy. It was something far more powerful and profound: the meticulous, heartfelt, and tearful art of the perfect goodbye. This is how the greatest tennis player in history bid farewell to the sport he helped define. The rise of perfection. For over 2 decades, Roger Federer redefined the visual art of tennis. From his first Wimbledon, he looked untouchable. His movement was poetry, and his precision was a form of art. Fans didn't just watch him play, they admired him. Younger stars wanted to be him, and his opponents feared him. But where did it all start? Born in Basel, Switzerland, Roger Federer's tennis career began at the age of 3. By the time he turned 6, he was already the best in his age group. His parents brought in Czech veteran coach Adolf Tchaikovsky, and for the next 4 years, he turned into a kid sensation. By the time he turned 13, he had already won the under-14 Swiss National Junior Championship. And by the time he was 15, he bagged both the indoor and outdoor under-18 Swiss National Championships, defeating the older Yves Allegro in both finals. Fast forward 2 years, and by 1998, Federer won the boys' singles final and the boys' double final at Wimbledon. And during the same year, he'd make his ATP debut at the Swiss Open Gstaad, falling in the first round. But it was the start of something incredible. Over the next 2 decades, Roger Federer was balletic poetry, gliding effortlessly across all surfaces. His signature one-handed backhand was a stroke of precision that propelled him to 20 major titles, and an era of pure dominance between 2003 and 2007, where he redefined how tennis could look. He didn't just win matches, but established a gold standard of sportsmanship and flair, earning him the nickname the Maestro. But it wasn't all easy going, and the dream was slowly being broken. The turning point. As great as Federer had become, 2013 proved to be one of his worst career moments. It proved that even the most elegant careers are not immune to time. Injuries began to slow him down. The back, the knee, small cracks in a masterpiece. On the other side of the court, Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic kept rising, and Roger Federer was forced to face something he had never faced before: his own limits. By March and July of 2013, injuries had dropped his ranking from number 2 in the world to number 6. He did win the Jerry Weber Open, tying John McEnroe for the third most ATP titles won by a male player in the Open era. Wimbledon proved his biggest failure, falling to Sergei Stakhovsky in the second round, his worst Grand Slam tournament defeat since 2003. But it was just the beginning. Federer was upset in Hamburg and Gstaad, even sacking his coach, Paul Anneken, and bringing Stefan Edberg on board to join the team. A few incredible wins in 2014 propelled him back to number 2 in the rankings, while he'd take his 1,000th victory by defeating Milos Raonic at the Brisbane International, becoming only the 3rd man in the Open era to reach this number. It felt like Federer was back until his injury woes once again came back in 2016. He'd missed more than half the season. The next 2 years proved his final hour, once again reaching the number 1 spot in 2018 by defeating Grigor Dimitrov to win his 3rd Rotterdam title and becoming the oldest player to lay claim to this spot. But as he grew older, these injuries made his appearances inconsistent, and while he still won a few tournaments from 2019 to 2021, it was clear Federer was no longer the dominant force everyone had come to know. Yet he refused to fade away quietly. He wanted to leave the game the way he lived it, with grace. the last great moment. By 2021, Roger Federer entered Wimbledon for one final time. Now, aged nearly 40, he became the oldest Wimbledon quarterfinalist, but he was upset by 14th seed Hubert Hurkacz in straight sets. He wouldn't play another singles tournament again, dropping outside the top 50 by June 13th of 2022. Just a month later, he was unranked for the first time since making his professional debut. Yet he believed he had one more game in him, one more moment, not for a title, not for glory, but purely for the love of the game that gave him everything. Federer announced that he'd be returning to the tour at the 2022 Laver Cup, noting that it would be his final ATP event, stating that he'd be retiring from the professional game on September 15, 2022. Poetically, he was partnered with longtime friend and rival Rafael Nadal. The two didn't go for glory, but gave it their all. But it wasn't enough, losing the three-set match to Jack Sock and Francis Tiafoe. It was his 1,750th match on the tour, and a final farewell for one of the greatest legends tennis had ever seen. The image of Federer and Nadal holding hands, tears in their eyes, became one of the most powerful moments in sports history. It wasn't about winning anymore. It was about saying goodbye, the only way a legend can. Beautifully. The legacy. Federer's last triumph wasn't a trophy. It was the way he left the stage, with humility, with gratitude, with the love of millions behind him. He showed the world that greatness isn't just about winning. It's about how you inspire others, even when you're gone. Yet his records are a silent reminder of how great he truly was. Over his 2-decade professional career, his records speak for themselves. 20 Grand Slam titles, behind rivals Nadal and Djokovic. He played in 31 major finals, including a record of 10 consecutive Grand Slam final appearances. Federer has won 2 Olympic medals, 1 gold in the doubles event, and a silver in the singles. His record of 8 Wimbledon titles is still unmatched, while doing so 5 times in a row will probably never be broken. And when it comes to consistency, 310 weeks at the #1 spot in the ATP rankings is the second longest for any male player. To put this into even more perspective, his worst ranking was 8th in 14 years, stretching from 2002 to 2016. And had it not been for injuries, it might have been even longer. These are just a handful of the accomplishments he leaves behind. Roger Federer didn't just change tennis. He became tennis. And that was his final and greatest victory. Many consider him to be the greatest tennis player of all time. Only time will tell if his legacy will stand in a sport that is becoming ever more competitive. If you love tennis legends like Federer, subscribe for more untold stories from the world of tennis, and make sure to check out this video on Nadal next.